What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? And happy above ground day to you. This is your boy T to the O to the B to the Y at King Toby on YouTube. Man, it is good to be back with you guys. Take a quick moment out to apologize for my absence. I was dealing with a couple of personal matters, and thanks to the grace of God that it all worked out. I'm good. Shout out to our Lord and Savior. I'm good. I also like to take this time to give a shout out to my cousin, Sylvester Gibson, who was killed in a car accident a week ago today. So I'd like to give a shout out and a quick moment of silence to my cousin, and I pray that he's in a better place. Not to bring you guys down, on and upward, I am back and I am ready to get on with it. Welcome back to 2 Cents, y'all, the show where we give you the word on the street and what the streets are talking about. We give you what the media is talking about. I give you insight to my personal friends and family and their intakes and what they're talking about. Random people I talk to on the streets and their, take. And at the end of the day, I give you my 2 cents, baby. Shout out to your boy for those low budget special effects. But let's get with it, y'all. Today's topic is technology. Is it our friend or is it a foe? And I'm going to start it like this. I'll probably say it depends upon your generation. If you are a baby boomer, or if you are a millennial, so to speak, take that back. If you are a millennial, then more than likely you love all of this technology. You love the smartphones. You love the smart TVs, the smart homes, the iPads, and so on and so forth. You love it. And I can't much blame you, because that's what you grew up with. You grew up with all this fast-moving technology and all the amazing things that it can do. And you get swept up and caught up in it. I mean, technology moves so fast now, and it's coming out with so much new stuff and so much great stuff that it doesn't even surprise you guys anymore. It almost like you expect it, And so I can't really blame you. But I'm challenging you with this. I would like you to start questioning, how beneficial is all this technology to you? Is it more of a help or more of a hindrance? Is it making you too dependent on it? Where you would be almost useless without it. Okay? See, me, I'm from the baby boomer generation. I grew up in the 1980s. Quick shout out to the 1980s. The greatest decade ever. Hands down. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. It just give me goosebumps even thinking about the 1980s. And I'm definitely going to do a topic on that. Baby boomers versus millennials. But shout out again to the 1980s. I remember growing up, even going back a little further to the 1970s. I remember black and white televisions, and I remember they had the turn knob on them. If you wanted to turn the channels, you had to actually physically get up, walk over to the television and turn it. And behind the channel knob was another I guess you can call it like a tuning knob or like a focus knob to try to get the picture to come in sharp. You had to kind of like adjust and turn it. And then I remember we went from that to the color television, and that was big. Color TV was huge. You go from black and white to color. Yeah, that was pretty big. And I remember when the remote control television came out. It was like this brick with these 4 knobs on the top that you click, and you push them down, and it turned the channels and stuff like that. And oh man, the remote control was really big when the remote control came out in the 1980s. Late 70s going into the 80s. Excuse me. And yeah, that was pretty special. That was big. That was big when the remote control came out. I remember the Betamax and the VCR. And I know millennials are watching this. This is almost like Chinese, you know. Betamax, what the hell is that, you know? And then I also remember the evolution of the telephone, man. I remember being at my grandmother's house, and the telephone was in the kitchen actually, and used to sit up like on the wall in the kitchen. And I remember the first one she had, it was like I don't know if you guys remember, but it was like this rotary, like a big rotary in the middle, and you had to do one number at a time. It was like you had to go like 5, 6, 1, you know, like that, to dial a number. And then I remember we went from that to the push button phone. They had like a row of like 12 little rows of numbers, and a star and a pound sign on there, and you had to press those to dial the number. And I remember yeah, we had like this long 20-foot cord on it that like my grandmother, she was like sitting in the living room, and the phone rang. You had to stretch this long ass cord all the way into the living room and shit for my grandmother to talk on the phone. And yeah, that's kind of funny thinking back on it. And then of course I remember when the cordless phone came out. You know, and they had this antenna. You had to pull the antenna up, and you know, for better reception and shit like that. So I definitely remember the evolution of things, you know, and how, you know, technology, you know, slowly, you know, was, and trust me, back then it was a crawl. It was slow. It was nothing like this ultra fast shit today. Wasn't, you know, but even though those technological advances that we was experiencing at that time, those advances did not make us dependent at all. It did not make us lazy or anything. Those advances basically just made life better. It made life just sweeter. I mean, like I said, just imagine going from watching black and white to color. You know, that doesn't have anything to do with dependency or anything like that. It just was a very nice luxury to have, you know, to be able to watch television in color. And that's pretty much all that was. It's totally different from how people depend on technology today. And it brings me to this challenge I did. I did a challenge. It started with my family. I challenged about 15 members of my family, and I went to all of them. I asked them all to give me a phone number off the top of their head, just strictly out of memory. And out of the 15 family members that I challenged to do this, only two was able to actually give me a phone number out of memory. And those was phone numbers of people that was super close to them, like either their mom or their girlfriend or wife, you know that type of thing. And most of them had like dozens of people in their contacts. One of my cousins had like over 100 people in her contact, you know, and out of 100 people, she was only able to remember her dad and her grandmother. That was it. Then I even challenged my own children. I challenged my own children and I asked them, do they know my phone number? Now I know theirs off the top of my head. And they said no. They didn't even know their own pop's phone number. They told me they just strolled down to dad. And so then I went out and I asked about 50 to 60 people randomly. I should have had it on video. I kind of hate that I didn't. But I asked about 50 to 60 people randomly. You know, aging from anywhere from, I think the youngest I asked was like 14 up to this oh man, this sweet lady, man. She was, I think she was 73 years old. And I gave them the same challenge. And it fell on millennial lines. Most of the millennials, no, they did not know anyone's phone number by memory. And most of the baby boomer generation, and even some of a little beyond the baby boomer generation, they did. So it was out of the 60 people I asked, only 11 was able to give me a phone number by memory. And it was like 11 to 3. Only 3 millennials was able to remember, and 8 of the older generation was able to remember. And it just took me back to a time when I was, like I say, when I was coming up, and I had tons of friends when I was coming up. People that I knew, people I was good, people I was cool with. And I'm here to tell you, I knew all my friends' phone numbers. I even knew my friends' friends' phone numbers. I knew all of their addresses, you know, off the top of my head, you know. And then I guess because it was a necessity back then, you know, where if you wanted to call your friend, you know, you had to memorize the number. So I guess since we didn't have the convenience that you all have today, you know, we had to, you know, do it, you know, from memory. But I personally think that that's a blessing. I think that forces you to use what God gave us, you know, which is what is, you know, what's between the ears. That's always a good thing. I don't see that as a downfall at all. And it brings me to this a short story I'm going to tell you guys about a friend of mine, Shot, my homeboy. I'm not going to say his name. So if you see this, I mean, you know who you are. And I'm going to take your story right now and share with my viewing public. So shout out to you. Friend of mine got pulled over, and they took him down and they booked him. And after he was booked, you know, they gave him a phone call. You know, they let him come out and use the phone. And he couldn't think of a single number. He didn't have a single person that he could remember to call. So because of this, he had to sit in the holding cell for an additional 13 hours. He sat in there. And during that whole 13 hours, he told me he still could not remember a single phone number. So during the shift change, when the new crew came on, and he was still in there, one of the, I think one of the desk clerks, he said, felt sorry. She felt bad for him, and she went in his property and she got his phone and allowed him to go through his phone to, you know, get a number. And that number happened to be, you know, yours truly. So he called me up, you know, and I went down and scooped him up. And, you know, and he told me this story that I'm sharing with you guys. And that's kind of the reason what made me come up with this topic. That's the reason why I came up with this topic, actually, was from his story. And it got me to thinking, like, okay, you know, is this technology weakening us or is it helping us? And I think it's a fine line. And it depends upon how that line is balanced, you know. And I think we just become so, our trust in technology and our belief in it and our dependency, sometimes I think it goes a little too far with where we are with it. We got all these smart devices now that does everything for us, and we love it. We absolutely love it. And I think the industry and these big wigs and these big corporations, which I'm going to touch on definitely later, they take advantage of that. They take advantage of our love of convenience. They take advantage of our love of ease, our love of, something else doing it for us. Example, Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 2:24 p.m.
Alexa, do the Lakers play tonight?
The Lakers will play later today at 7 p.m. in Detroit, Michigan against the Pistons.
My point exactly. See, that is all great and good. Don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing technology. So for anybody who's watching this, don't you think for one moment that I'm bashing technology, that I am trying to, put down technology and saying we don't need it or anything like that. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. We all love the use of technology. Like the example I just gave, and that's just only a small example of technology. I can tell my device, I don't want to say her name right now because then she'll come on. But I can tell her to turn on my television and she'll do it. Or I can tell her to turn on the lights and so on and so forth. Tell her to start up Netflix and so on and so forth. So, all of that's well and good. But my thing is, I think that that kind of convenience, that type of doing it for us, it does kind of make us complacent and lazy and dependent, And now we're talking about smart cars. And I definitely want to take some time to get serious about the smart car stuff. It hasn't taken off just yet because the industry hasn't really been pushing it, but I feel like it is coming down the pipeline. And I feel like, with the craving that we have for newer technology and better things, I just want us to be careful about that because, I don't care how good something may appear to be. I don't care how perfectly it's supposedly be made. I don't care how much testing went on before the product was released. It's still made by man. It's not perfect. Technologies fail. And it brings me to the story of the Titanic. And we all know how the Titanic went. It was this so-called perfectly designed cruise ship. It is supposed to have been perfectly built from top to bottom. It was so perfectly designed and built till one of the designers, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the captains of the ship, one of the two, made a statement, something along the lines that this ship is so perfectly made that God himself couldn't sink this ship. This is what he said during the interview, because he had believed that the ship was perfect, and they had crossed every T and dotted every I. But we know how that turned out, don't we? So it just brings me to the point of with these smart cars and stuff, and I know a lot of you guys will say, well, that was old 1912 technology. We are far smarter. We've advanced 100-fold since then, and that is absolutely correct. You will get no argument from me with that. We have advanced leaps and bounds since the days of the Titanic. But it's not about the technology. It's not about the technology or the advancement thereof or how far we've come. That's not the point I was trying to make with the Titanic analogy. The point I was trying to make is that the developers, the builders of this ship, the ones who had so much confidence in what they had designed was brought down by an iceberg. And the iceberg that struck the ship hit it at the most vulnerable point, the weakest point, of the ship, in order to bring the ship down. Now, was that happenstance that it was struck? Just happened to strike probably the only place on the ship where this can happen. Was that by chance? Was it just good old bad luck? Some people say it was an act of God. By that gentleman making that statement that God himself couldn't sink their ship, that he challenged God. And God showed him who was boss. Now, we would never know. But the point being that nothing's perfect. I don't care how well it was designed. I don't care what equations that was made out on paper and was followed to the letter. Nothing's perfect. And so now, let's say for instance, smart cars decide to be a thing, right? Would you be comfortable in a car that drove itself? See, this is where the industry and marketing come in. Why I said I'm going to touch on. And see, that's where a lot of this is going with me. The marketers are so genius at what they do. How they make you feel that you have to have whatever this thing is that they decide to market. And all they're doing at this point is conditioning us to feel like we have to have this technology. They're conditioning us to feel so comfortable and trust in the technology so well that we don't even question it anymore. So if smart cars decide to become a thing, and as I said, they're designed by man, which means that they're not perfect. It's, and like I said, it's kind of like the Titanic. Let's just say that you happen to be in a smart car and it goes over a puddle of water, right? And the puddle of water just happened to get in that one little crease that the moisture got to a module that caused a processor to fail. And that particular processor that failed happens to be the processor that's for the sensors on the smart cars. Now, we all know how these smart cars work. They work on sensors and navigation. The navigation is supposed to know every street corner sign, every railroad crossing, roads that where it's passing lane, non-passing lanes, so on and so forth. And the sensors are supposed to sense, the traffic lights and other things, so they'll know when the traffic light is red, green, yellow, so on and so forth. So as I said, just like the Titanic just happened to hit that weak structure, same thing with a smart car. Let's just say it went across a sleet of ice, or it went across a speed bump really hard, and it just so happened to jog that one area. Or water just happened to get in that one crease that just didn't happen to know was there. And the processor goes bad and the sensor doesn't work, and the light is red but the sensor doesn't recognize that, and it goes out into oncoming traffic and kills a family of 5. Okay? Now, before our trust in technology will start to dwindle, it would take several unfortunate incidents. And that's the sad part about this, because that's where the marketing come in at, and the advertisers and the media, because they all work together. These big corporations and the media, they work together. So if they're trying to push a certain technology and it has a failure, You know, and the media doesn't cover it in a way um, to to educate us, you know, about this particular technology. You know, it will take several failures before the media don't have any choice but to alert us now, because see, now it's a public health crisis. You know, it's a danger to the public. So now they have to, you know, educate us. You know, but the sad part about it is it will take so much loss of life before it, you know, the media have to be forced to tell us the truth about things, because the media is controlled by the corporations, and the corporations are developing these technologies that that we are so dependent upon. So I just want us to always be cognizant of the fact that technology is great. Technology is a wonderful, useful tool, but we should never become dependent on it. We should never get to the point where we feel like we can't function without it, because that's where this is going. That is where the corporations is trying to push us to. The corporations are trying to push us to the point where we feel like we can't function without these technologies. Like they did a focus group, and I watched these things. You know, they did a focus group on a bunch of people that feel, and they question them and take them through a whole different variety of different scenarios. And we tried some where they only took away their cell phone. Now, like I say, we're getting more and more smart devices. It started with the cell phone. The cell phone was the start of it all. But now we got several smart devices. We got locks that lock themselves. You know, we got lights that come on if we tell them to. You know, we have smart refrigerators that will actually call the grocery store and make orders if certain things in the refrigerator is low. If you need milk, or if you need juice, or you need eggs, whatever the case may be. We got smart appliances and smart faucets. I mean, it just go on and on. We got so many smart devices now, and this focus group did a survey. I mean, did a focus group on just taking a person's cell phone away to see how well they can go through the day and how well they can function just without their cell phone. And I'm telling you, man, it was crazy how people were just freaking out, how they couldn't function, how they couldn't go through their daily routines and their daily lives and do the same things that we grew up with, that when we didn't have these technologies, they couldn't function. They couldn't do it without their cell phone. I mean, they actually was freaking out. I remember one of the young ladies in the on the focus group, 3 hours in, she couldn't take it. She couldn't take it. She had to have her phone back. Now this focus group supposedly went 48 hours without their cell phones. That was this whole thing. They're supposed to went 48 hours, which is 2 days, without their cell phones, and to see how well they can react and function and live, and see, you know, how they will make do without their cell phone. Right? I forget how many it was. I think it was like 20 in the focus group. And like I said, this one young lady, after 3 hours, she I'm out, I'm done, can't do it. She had to have her phone back. And at the conclusion of the focus group, none of them made the 48 hours. None of them. And it was, I think, ages ranging from 18 to 40, I think it was. And none of them made it. And that's another thing that got me to thinking when I decided to do this particular topic. I'm like, whoa, that's something serious to think about. That's something serious to just think about. 20 people couldn't function without their cell phones. So that showed me just how dependent we are becoming on this technology. And I, said, okay, I'm definitely going to address this topic because it's definitely worth addressing. So like I said, it's not that I'm trying to bash technology, and I'm not trying to bash you all, as my viewers, saying that that you're dumb and you're codependent and you're stupid. And no. Please, let's not even go there. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I want you to enjoy technology, but it's like it's like someone who's on a diet, okay, and you're trying to break away from fast food.